brief roadmap. We're going to start out with a presentation from Vivek of the IFC. Like me, he's a resident of Hong Kong, and I've been following what the IFC does, particularly in Asia, for many years. And he will talk to you about what the IFC is doing, particularly in Asia, and also pick on the themes of what does regulation mean in today's world. Vivek, please come up, and all of you come up as well. This is going to be a very interactive panel, a very informal one, and I'm already having a crisis of identity because all of these people are early adapters of these new trends, and there am I from traditional media. Vivek, take over.
Thank you very much, Henny, for the kind introduction and very warm welcome, and a big thank you to our hosts for inviting us. There's an old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm going to play a short video.
So this is our iPad device. This would be fitting. We have already dispensed more than $500 million using this exact same technology. This technology is already been deployed. There are more than 450 ATM machines already using this. No one can take them, no one can copy them, and no one can impersonate you.
Please submit the bill. Thank you for your cooperation.
You would click a button on the screen and would look into the camera. We can be 100% sure that the money is actually going to the right person. And this makes all donors feel very, very good about their donations because it makes it very, very effective. So this is not paper vouchers. There is no stigma, whether it's a poor or a refugee or whatever the outback is. It offers them the service with dignity. And it will link it to the point-of-sale system, and it will clear the funds and do the actual payment and print the receipt, all using the iris without the need to enter any PIN or any information. And it proves that you have been in the market and you've taken the item designated for you.
Thank you very much. So I just thought I'd share this with you all as an example of what is happening around the world. This is something that we have learned with the climate in Jordan. In particular, we have the refugee crisis, and other refugees coming in from different parts of the Middle East. But before I go any further, the one thing that struck me was that I started working in this region about 26 years ago, 1994. So slightly 25 years ago, and I was in Thailand. And at that point in time, countries were competing for investments. When Texas Instruments wanted to build a semiconductor plant in Asia, you had about 4 Asian countries competing that were offering these companies, carbon tax breaks, free land, etc., etc. And obviously, there was only one winner out of the 3 or 4 competitors. Now, fast forward to the last 2 years, and what we are seeing is, I don't think companies are competing to that extent for manufacturing companies to come in. But countries and cities, as we're seeing today, are actually competing to develop themselves as technology hubs. And that's really interesting because what you needed many years ago to have a manufacturing company set up base is very different from what you need now. You needed, like I said, good infrastructure, tax, etc., etc. You can still offer tax breaks today. But today you need an ecosystem for entrepreneurship. And that ecosystem lot of it is not just hard infrastructure, but a lot of it is soft infrastructure. You need people with the right kind of education, with the right kind of mindset, the ability to take risks, an ecosystem that allows for all this. And given that we're living in a global world without seeing serious borders in many ways today when it comes to technology, you need to be able to attract talent from overseas, which will complement the talent that you have. So I just wanted to mention this before I run out the presentation, because I think it's an important point and maybe also for the panel to consider. So now I go to my rather boring presentation, which is it's things which most of you know, but I'll be brief on this. So basically, 1.7 million adults lack an account. Now I very consciously left out a certain word in there. I've left out the word a bank account. And no offense to my friends from the banking industry here. But I think today we are going to see solutions that are not, which are going to in many ways bypass banks and don't need banks to do some of those things. And the sad part is that a large part of these unbanked or unfinanced individuals or families are actually in emerging markets. And there is very little opportunity for them to have an economic future or a bright economic future unless they can get access to some sort of finance. So again, the interesting thing is that the number of people that are unbanked or unfinanced, a number of them actually have a mobile phone. So that, again, gives us a glimmer of hope. There is an opportunity, thanks to mobile phones and technology. There are things that can be done today which could not have been done when this technology was not affordable. So what I think is important to understand here is that access to finance and financial services is actually reliant on a big way of what's happening in the telecommunications, 3G, 4G, 5G space. And these are pretty much interlinked actually. Now, Fintech, or that before we call it TechFin, is really, in a big way, what we've seen over the past 10 years. These are some of the areas that I know we work with or have had significant impact, is provide access to hundreds of millions of people that do not have access to financial services, legitimate financial services. And the beauty here is that these people were getting financed through loan sharks, which were charging exorbitant rates of interest. You know, in the Philippines, I think there's a saying, there's a 5-6 saying. You get 5 pesos in the morning and you get 6 pesos in the evening. That it's a great business to be in, but it's illegal. It should not exist in my opinion. So what technology has done is actually giving people an opportunity, or I would actually say, mobile phones have done is giving people an opportunity to actually get access to not only certain basic services, but also financial services in a big way. And in many ways, this is a very interesting chart in how we really see the degree of digitization in financial services. And this is important because at the end of the day, things are happening or were happening, like I said, from the bottom, loan sharks and so on and so forth. But then it's now monitored at a different sort of level here, thanks to technology. And I don't think all of this will survive. I think there will be some of these things that are happening may not survive in the medium term, but new things are bound to happen. And a lot of people actually call it disruption. I don't know if it's truly disruption, but it's certainly moving the needle in a positive direction. So I think what's also important to mention that we got on those slightly less than organizations that are not participating in digital economy. And I think when we talk to regulators, when we talk to governments, this is a point that's very often forgotten. So I got a conversation with the finance minister in the last year country. So I want to have a virtual bank, I want to go for digitization, etc., etc., etc. And I just looked at him and said, "Sir, do you know how expensive it is to get to your country?" And he said, "Good point." And they did take our advice to try to get a third operator and so on and so forth. But I think when we have regulators down in the group, it's important to understand that it's just not digitization, but actually access to affordable internet, access to affordable technologies that are going to make a difference. So I think, yeah, just about some efforts which are critical. Clearly, if you build capacity for highly automated products and services. Partnerships, I think this is going to be critical going forward. That, a telecom company is not just a telecom company today. A telecom company, in my view, is part of an ecosystem which is providing services to typically people at the bottom of the pyramid. So it's just not about connectivity, it's much more than connectivity. And again, technology firms on a standalone basis is not much they can do without tech companies. And as I said, there's a difference between Fintech and TechFin. TechFin is when a technology company gets into financial services revenue, and Fintech is when a financial services company gets into technology. So there's subtle difference. And then of course you have the banks that I think are going to continue to play a critical role. And in my view, banks are going to play a much more important role than people banks in India that they do require. And similarly, microfinance. And again, there has been a lot of things which have happened outside of the financial sector, which I think we in the financial sector can take use from, try and understand them better, and improve upon them and adapt them as we go forward on this journey. Again, shift from rigid legacy technology and culture, and I'll come back to it later, and we need flexible regulatory structures. Now, the one thing I have to put in here is the mindset shift. And I think if you look at it, people ask me what is the one single most important aspect that is impeding the growth of digital technologies and tech. I think it's actually the mindset shift. Because in order for us to have innovation, we need to be prepared to fail. And in many cultures, in many countries, failure is not accepted. If you fail once, banks will not come back to give you money. If you fail, your family and friends may not want to hang out with you anymore. And I think when people talk about developing an ecosystem, like I said, if countries and cities want to develop an ecosystem of entrepreneurship and want to attract their youth to look at this in a more systematic, in a more forceful manner, and invite people from overseas, I think that is critical. Now, I don't know how that will be done, but I think, if you look at examples of the way Silicon Valley sort of came about, in China they made a concerted effort to make it happen, in Israel, as an extent in Bangalore. But that is really what is critical, or what we can do is its ability to accept failure. Now that's not to say you keep failing time after time after time. But if you look at a lot of the big business ideas that have come about in the last 50 years, I can guarantee you these were not the first things that the entrepreneurs tried. They don't like to talk about failure, but one of the things I keep telling these people as I meet them is you talk about failure, you talk about what you tried and didn't work. Because that is what will motivate the next generation to look at this more seriously. So I'll spend a bit of time talking about the role of the regulators, since we have the regulators here. It's not an easy one. Because on the one hand, technology and tech companies need to be regulated, and I'm firmly in that. On the other hand, you don't want to overburden them in terms of the amount of regulation introduced in innovation. I also do appreciate what commercial banks say, that commercial banks are overburdened with the level of regulation, which a lot of these tech or fintech companies don't have to face. So is it a fair field market? I'm not going to answer that, but all I'm going to say is that we need to see regulation start coming in. I think a lot of countries have had a fair amount of experience in how it will be done. It's not going to be easy as we go ahead, but I'll share with you an example of what the central bank governor was talking to me. So he said, what do I need to regulate the sector? So I said, you need to change your staff. He was a bit aghast. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, most of the people you hire today are accountants, auditors, financial services people. I don't think they're in a position to regulate or even understand the sector. So I think we need to start going on to engineering schools and colleges and start hiring engineers, coding experts, people who understand the space. Because if you have something got a background like me, honestly, in finance, accounting, I don't think I'm in a position to regulate something like that. But if I talk to a friend or a colleague of mine who's got expertise in coding, understanding all this, they're in a much better position, I think, to regulate. But I think on the point of regulation, I just wanted to again re-emphasize that regulation is needed, otherwise we will have disasters and mishaps, and we've had a few. But at the same time, not an easy task, but I would really urge regulators to regulate in a way that you can still encourage innovation and using to come back. So, this is just some examples that we have put out here of how some of these industries have increased significantly in certain sectors, certain deals that we've done. This is just a sample, it's honestly not even a copy version, it's very small compared to the deals. But at the end of the day, what does motivate us as IFC when we get into this space is almost all of these have actually been done with homegrown entrepreneurs. These are homegrown solutions, these are not the large banks, large technology companies investing in the markets. This is most of it is actually homegrown. And here are some of the partnerships that we worked on, and I do hope that we'll have stuff from Korea coming in. We've already been working with a large Korean company, which is part of it, which is working with a bank in Indonesia. I hope that will happen soon. So we see a lot of potential going forward in this. I just want to spend a bit of time. This is something that we are quite proud of. So about almost 5 years ago, when I got this job and I went and met about 25 CEOs across commercial banks in last year, and I asked them their new technology, the standard response I got was, that's not our cup of tea. You know, sort of very comfortable with what we are, which actually was quite sad. It was, they hadn't seen what was in the meantime happening in China in the whole space. Cut to about 3 years later, which is 2 years ago, we're talking to them again regularly, and they say, you know, what can we do? We want to get into the whole technology space in a serious way. I said it's still too late now to start, because the space has moved too fast. So that's when we took on this idea of working with the government of Singapore, the monetary authority of Singapore, to set up AFIN, which is the ASEAN Financial Innovation Network, which is actually a sort of sandbox to help banks, technology companies, and very important regulators play the safe space, come up with solutions which are tailor-made for their respective countries. At the end of the day, I don't believe there's a one-size-fits-all solution. So this was launched last November at the Singapore Fintech Festival in November. The results have been quite encouraging, and we do hope this will be leading the way for a number of these banks to get into the technology space with more earnest and seriousness. So this is something which is pulse of Fintech. But I think I mentioned earlier, some of the key trends that we're seeing is the impact blockchain is already having on this. The costs coming down, especially on smartphones, and digital access financing more data or access to more big data. And thanks to AI, I think we'll have quicker and more improved decision making over time. So I thought this is just a chart which shows where the different regulators are on the different regulatory approaches and sort of sandbox approach. So what does this mean for Korea? That's something I'm sure many of you understand. Now, if you look at it on the one hand, just to brief with this, Korea, when we look at some of the other countries like India and China, has been slightly slower in adoption. On the other hand, I would just quickly add that Korea today has a very high level of penetration of the financial sector. What actually technology is done in places like India and China, they actually fill the gap that didn't exist. So initially they didn't displace or replace banks. They actually went to segments of the population that did not have access to financial services through banks. Therefore, for Korea to now leapfrog and get to the next level, I think we're going to have to see a lot more innovation, a lot more creativity, in order for them to do things differently. Because the basics that countries like India and China did, that opportunity didn't exist in Korea. So these are just 3 clients that we're very proud of: eCash in Bangladesh, India and India, and then Pesa in Kenya. So with that, I'll hand it back to Henny. Thank you very much.
You know, listening to you is a reminder, of why I find Fintech so inspiring, because it's a reminder that finance is actually a means, it's not an end in itself. And the end is a better life for everyone, by giving people who never had access to capital that they can use productively. also because, we're starting out, one of the things I learned as I was getting ready for this conference, in part because I spent so much time with what the IFC does in emerging markets. And I always thought that Fintech can make a huge difference in emerging markets, much more than in developed markets, especially where governments are dysfunctional, is where you really see Fintech startups and other startups, like some of the ones you've backed, educational startups, financial literacy startups, making a huge difference. But in fact, many of the challenges in developed markets are the same as in emerging markets. In Korea, talking to Joey, who you'll hear more from later, you have the same binary thing that you have in emerging markets. Traditional banks, very conservative and loan charts, and very little in between. But let's start now with Rakuten, which was founded in 1997, which happens to be 5 years after I left Japan. I lived in Japan from 1987 to 1992. And you referred to the need for a risk-taking mentality. And, if you read the history books, whether it's Taisho Japan or after the war, Japan was surprisingly entrepreneurial. And somehow it lost that entrepreneurial drive. And then I heard of 1 or 2 people leaving Industrial Bank of Japan, then the elite bank of Japan. And they started this thing called Rakuten. And they said, and we're going to speak English at Rakuten because we want to be part of the world. So tell us a bit about Rakuten. To what extent has it been a catalyst for change in Japan? And to what extent has it inspired others to go from being salarymen to being entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah. So, as Henny was rightly saying, I guess Japan used to historically have an entrepreneurial culture. I would say that that culture still exists, albeit at a bit of a different level. When you look at the makeup of the economy, obviously, a great percentage of the GDP still falls in the hands of small enterprises, little, stores and shops. Although it has somewhat stopped there and taken over by large conglomerates, because very differently than it has happened here in Korea. Rakuten was established in 1998. For those that are familiar with the name, right now the company has gained international renown, especially after we've sponsored the Barcelona football club, so you see the name of the shirts worldwide. And it is a very international business, although the lion's share of what we do still remains in Japan. As a segue to what Vivek was saying, talking about access or financial access, I guess the roots of why Rakuten was established was to empower society, as our CEO would say, by establishing a marketplace, a third-party marketplace in commerce, effectively allowing merchants and customers to interact, businesses that later on will be emulated by Amazon. Now the lion's share of Amazon's business is third-party access or Alibaba. And then the company soon evolved from e-commerce actually into fintech by acquiring a series of financial services businesses online, which then turned into giants in Japan. So, for instance, we have the largest credit card company with about 50 million users in Japan, the only digital only bank, the second largest online broker, insurance, payments, you name it. Moving from fintech, we also evolved into digital media, and now the next challenge is 5G. We're gaining the 4th license to operate a mobile network in Japan, so the company is gearing towards the pipes with a very state-of-the-art technology. And Henny, you asked me about English or the so-called Englishization at the company. I think that was not something that happened originally, but very soon our CEO realized that in order for the company to be international, you have to make it international. And by that, you have to attract foreign talent. And obviously, learning Japanese is not that easy. I'm sure it goes both ways for Japanese as well. It's something that unfortunately not speaking Korean, it's also very difficult to communicate that unless you have some medium of communication. So about 6-7 years into the making of the Roundtable, English was, I guess, imposed as sort of the language of use of the company, with a lot of money spent on teaching people. And what this has done, especially as the company has expanded through acquisition and international investments abroad, is to facilitate communication among employees globally, which is very important. And it's also important for any type of ecosystem you're trying to establish, especially, I guess, as Busan is trying to create a Fintech one. That's also going to be one of the requirements, let's say.
So, Oskar, what made you decide to go from being a banker with JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch to working for Rakuten? And of course, you're in charge of their investments and venture capital and what you describe in your presentation as quantum-mental investing.
Sure. So, I'll tell you that behind every journey, there's a great love story, but we're gonna skip that and just stick to the professional. Essentially, yes, I did cut my teeth in investment banking with JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, but in between there was also an entrepreneurial phase for me, which working with startups as well as actually running a credit union, which is a savings bank in the US. And before joining Roundtable, I was working with a private investor group acquiring distressed companies. So through that, I got in touch with Rosaline, the CEO, wanted to hire me. And actually what many people say, and again, quoting Vivek, telling us about the readiness or being able to fail for startups, which is so important. So what people say about venture is that it's actually not that different from investing in distressed assets. All these companies are always on the brink. So in many ways, it is sort of similar, right? Because you have to combine very, I guess, smart structuring to rebound these businesses. And frankly, what I like about it, apart from the fact that Rakuten is such a colorful place with over 50 billion, even over 50 business units, is that venture investing is not that different from filmmaking, for those of you who might be familiar, whereby I guess the CEO or entrepreneur would be the director who has an idea, then the venture capitalist would be the producer, effectively providing the finance and the support to make it happen, and the company is sort of the movie. And as we all know, many movies fail, right? So it's only the big ones that end up making it.
Thank you. Patrick, I'm going to turn to you now. Recently, I was watching an interview with Jeff Bezos of Amazon, who is now, as you all know, the richest person in the world. And the interviewer said to him, "Have you ever had a credit card transaction denied?" And Jeff Bezos is fairly bewildered by this question. And he said, "Yes." And the interviewer said, "Well, what did you do when your credit card transaction was denied?" And to which the reply was, "I either used another credit card or I paid cash." And all my friends in China go, "You're primitive." Many people look at credit card companies as the target of Fintech, that you are the disruptive, not the disruptor. Yet a year ago, you decided to join Visa. How do you see your assignment to keep Visa and the credit card model relevant in this changing world?
Thank you for that question. For many of you may have heard about Visa, but Visa is not just a credit card processing or payments company. Visa was founded 60 years ago, and you could really say Visa was the first global fintech player. So when I right, we have grown over time, over the last 60 years. So for me, I come from this British bank called Standard Chartered. I was with them for 15 years in strategy and M&A. Last 6, I ran retail banking for Standard Chartered Korea. And it was time for me to go back. It was very opportunistic. I have a 6th grader daughter, and she refused to move. She loves it here so much, so I had to go find a job. And luckily, Visa sort of came as an opportunity. And my first reaction was just that. I'm not a cards person. I've done some retail, but I'm not a specialist in the payments industry. They said, no, we're about to drive major digital transformation. And I really fell in love with the story. I'm in banking. I was in banking because we thought we had a role to play, providing the oxygen to the commerce to drive economic growth and job creation. So what is the role that Visa can play? And as I looked around, fintech and big techs with their capabilities, we really thought that Visa could be well positioned to help these Korean companies go global. And one particular example that I can give is Line. So Line obviously, for some of you know, part of
Your strategy was alliance.
So my strategy was being part of this digital transformation and continue to evolve on the partnership model where the economy as a whole could benefit from the role that we were playing. We're still kind of not there yet, but one example I can give is this Korean company Line. They have presence in 4 markets, Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, and Thailand, where they have these chat platforms. They added Line Pay capability. We started in Taiwan and it was very, very successful. We are now driving programs.
Why Taiwan?
So of the 4 markets, we just tested with Taiwan, simply as just to see the reaction. How will people really use Line Pay as a preferred payment choice in their day-to-day? And we have seen phenomenal growth. Some growth that you can never imagine being part of a bank. So in Japan, they have over 90 million users. Line Pay just started with some reward points, converting that into payments at their accepted locations where they control 100,000 merchant network. What we enabled them to do is to be accepted everywhere in Japan, across 1.5 million merchants, and trying to drive digital adoption. So only 23% of the total payment volume in Japan is done electronically. So what we're trying to do with the industry and the regulators to drive that to almost.
It's one of the highest incidences of dependence on cash, right?
Yes, that is very true. So
And how much of that is demographics, older people?
it's just the daily habit, I believe. Or how can we actually change this habit? Or players like Line, the more and more you get comfortable using digital transactions, that will really change the habit of users. So when you come with a most attractive killer proposition where most of the Japanese banks cannot afford to match in a very, very convenient, easy way to do, then you cannot just, the momentum will just build up very, very quickly. So now government is also trying to give tax rebates to those who actually transact with their debit cards and credit cards to encourage users to spend more electronically. At the same time, for merchants, for them to set up these terminals, the government is also really getting behind this, all because of the upcoming Tokyo 2020 Olympics, when they have numbers, millions, tens of millions of visitors to the country. They need to be able to access everywhere they go.
So talk to us about Visa's venture capital arm and why it was established and what it is doing, and how important is it to the future of Visa?
So Visa is a networks company. we have the largest partnership with issuers, and that would be banks and credit card companies. On the other hand, where the cards or the digital payments are accepted, in terms of the merchant network, we have a large merchant network. So we think of this as an ecosystem. And when the new fintech players come into the industry, we want to make sure that we help them as well. So we have a special program where we give them visa credentials in a very good way. In the first few years of their venture, they may not be able to really
Can you give us an example specifically?
So we have what is called Fintech Fast Track, where we work with a lot of startups. And we get them funded, help them get funded. And we also help them set up partnerships for them to grow. So, for example, when Samsung Pay acquired Loop Pay, Visa had a stake in Loop Pay, where we sold to Samsung Pay, and we thought for what Samsung Pay wanted to achieve, that didn't make sense. So also through our venture capital arm, we recently acquired a company called Freedom, based out of New Zealand, where in order for us to enhance the overall proposition of a commercial card for our banking clients globally, where they do expense management and reporting management as a platform. And the last one, which is still going through the transaction now, but it was actually publicized a few weeks ago, so I'm trying to talk about it, which is Earthport. Earthport is the largest global payments platform, where Visa not only works from card to card, credit or debit, we also work from bank account to bank account whenever people want to send money. So we look for certain capabilities where Visa does not have presence in, and this is where we use our VC arm to make these investments.
You know, what's so interesting to me is how
한 사람은
countries
그렇게
and
대부분마다
companies evolve and are so adaptive at certain points in their history or fail to. So the fact that I both spend a lot of time in India, and 20 years ago, the IT services companies seemed to be at the top of the world. And to some extent, they have really failed to evolve. They've absolutely failed to do what Visa is doing. They should have been taking stakes in all these great startups in India. I'm not sure why they didn't, but before I let you go, let me ask you one final question. You know, Ali and Tencent are international players with international ambitions. How do you see Visa's relationship with them? And one of the reasons that I ask this question is, I mean, we all know that U.S. regulators would not let Ant Financial take a stake in MoneyGram. At the same time, Ant Financial has a very big relationship with First Data, which is a huge part of the infrastructure for payments in the U.S. And now there's so many point of sales where they take Alipay. And Ali is saying, well, this is actually just for Chinese tourists in the States. But actually, it's really not. Talk to us about the relationship between Ali and Tencent. Partner, competitor, both?
Yeah, all of the above.
Yes.
So obviously, we have to pay special attention to the progress that Ali and WeChat Pays of the world are making. They are truly innovative. They move with speed and agility, which is something that Visa is also trying to learn from. Just over the last 3 to 4 years, they have become such a powerhouse now. Ant Financial and WeChat actually are ranked within the top 10 in terms of global market cap. But we also will work with them as a partner because although they are aggressively trying to increase their global acceptance, we already have global acceptance. So we're talking to them about rather than trying to do this in a closed ecosystem, everybody would benefit if you go to open ecosystem, just like what we have done. And so we are, I mean, there are some strategic conversations going on around how to make better work together to really achieve the open ecosystem. But you're right, they continue to come with new innovations. Visa continues to stay very close to what they're doing, especially in China. We would like to also have more and more Chinese travelers when they travel out of China into other regions. We would love for them to use Visa cards, so we have to work more on that. At the same time, we also help global travelers who have Visa to come into the country to ensure that Visa is accepted in China. So these are some of the things that we continue to work on. But yes, they are both our partners, and also we have to watch out for what they're doing when we continue to progress.
In other words, don't short Visa stock anytime soon. Before I turn to Joey, I'm just going to ask you a quick question, which occurred as I think about the U.S. saying to Ant Financial, you can't acquire MoneyGram because financial data is national security. Do you see protectionist policies more and more being a factor in the world today, and does that concern you?
I think if you read the newspapers, you know, very clearly it is happening. But I want to give it a slightly different angle. One is some countries, and increasingly if you look at what's happening in elections, you've seen the results coming out of different elections today. Nationalism is becoming a major factor, and a lot of protectionism is also coming from incumbent players. So a lot of vested interests are in many ways, some legitimate, some I wouldn't say very justified, coming up with ways and means to block innovation of some of these newer players from having market share. So it's certainly happening at both levels, but if I have to lose sleep over one against another, I will lose more sleep over vested interests in currently existing markets, trying to block some of these new entrants from coming in.
Very thoughtful answer. Joey, on to you. Why don't you, many people in the audience are not local. You know, they may not know about your fund or your relationship with Kakao. So let's start by talking about that, and then talk about the kinds of human capital that you think, that you look to recruit and how easy it is to find them. But first, talk through your business model and your relationship with Kakao.
Yeah, I think I'm the only Korean person that's actually doing a Fintech business on the panel today. So thank you for the invitation, and then also thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my business People Fund. So before I go on to my business, let me briefly tell you about the Korean lending market landscape and what kind of problems we are facing in Korea. So basically, when I started the business 4.5 years ago,
Your background is banking and consulting.
correct. I was in venture capital at SoftBank, and before that I was at a consulting firm. And I saw this market opportunity in Korea because we've been having this social problem of having a huge supply gap in the lending market, and where we have a lot of banks that's serving the super prime and the prime customers, and we see all these loan sharks targeting the very low end at a very high interest price. And this has been a social problem where the mid-tier people, average Koreans who are rejected by the bank, couldn't go anywhere other than loan sharks. So we wanted to solve this problem, and finance in Korea is one of the most conservative sector in Korea, and we have more than 100% smartphone penetration, and we have everybody using Kakao chat app, but we don't see. We used to 5 years ago, we didn't see any changes in the finance field. So this was a huge problem, and I thought the lending sector would be the most fast-moving and fast-changing because the needs of the financial consumers is just too high. So we started this business, and now after 4 years, we lend about on a monthly basis about $30 million of new loans. We're the market leader in the consumer lending sector. For about 4 years, we lent in total about $400 million of loan origination. So it is growing really fast, and we have other companies that are actually solving the same problem with different products in this sector. We've been growing really fast, but the problem and the key obstacle that we were facing when we started the business was the regulation. We saw a lot of problems happening, like as David mentioned in the earlier session, in Chinese P2P, where without regulations, funds happen in Korea. So in the very early stage of the industry, of the P2P industry, P2P companies got together and tried to make an association. And now we are working with the government to make the regulation a new law that is actually being pushed to the parliament, maybe hopefully this year, which will be maybe the first law that is dedicated only to lending, only to digital lending through P2P method by any country in the world. So it's very interesting time, and we think it's just the beginning of lending market to evolve and to transform into more digital format. I think this year and next year will be very interesting for us.
A little bit about your credit scoring and your algorithms. And, how has the industry evolved? Because it seems to me that at least in the beginning, a lot was pseudoscience. And my big fear was because it was presented as science, it could actually cause financial exclusion rather than inclusion.
Yes, so this is a very interesting question because a lot of lending companies actually emphasize that they have the secret sauce of picking up the real thin fighters that can really pay you back, and that cannot be done without data. But in Korea, the lending market is very old, but digital lending market to thin fighters is very, very short. Private lenders in this space have been focusing on very human method of doing this, and they've been quite successful because they made a lot of money in this sector. But we haven't really seen a digital lender in Korea outperforming in this in-pilot sector yet. We're one of the players that are actually focusing on this, but it is very difficult. One good news is that Korea is a very credit-based society. Average number of credit cards per any given population, any person, is 5. So 5 credit cards per person is double the size of Singapore and US. So basically, we have a lot of data if you are economically stable. So we are very good at looking at maybe, I would say, 70 to 80% of the market of the local Koreans who are coming to borrow money. But the 20% that we are missing is where the cream is. So we have to really focus there. But we haven't, and our company haven't found that yet. But what we're focusing on right now is not the subprime thin finance, but near prime customers that are rejected by the bank. So just by focusing on that sector, we can actually make a pretty good benefit for the financial customer at this point in time. And when it comes to the financial credit scoring, we are mostly focusing still on the credit scores and also the financial data given by the financial institutions to us.
Before I let you go, talk about your tie-up with Kakao.
Oh, sure, yes. Because we're the only online P2P lender that's actually using a bank as a lending vehicle, we were lucky enough to get some investments from Kakao Group. So Kakao is one of the most used chatting app in Korea. So more than the full population actually uses Kakao. So some people have 2 accounts. So everybody uses it, and they have
WeChat in Korea, but with a big stake by Ali.
Correct. So their second largest shareholder is Alipay. So what they're doing is they're trying to take the success that they saw in China to Kakao Pay, and that's been very successful for the last 3 years. And because lending is another sector that Ant Financial wants to really focus, Kakao is focusing on lending through us. So we are actually giving them loan products and also investment products.
One of the interesting things these days is how every financial startup, no matter where you are in Asia or even in the world, although there's not that widespread recognition yet in some parts of the world, is what can we learn from China? China is the stimulus, the catalyst for all these things. To me, it's very interesting. But before I let you go, Joey, we've heard a lot about regulation and the need for transparency and also what it means to be a level playing field today. So I was in Singapore recently with Piyush Gupta, who is one of the bankers who thinks most deeply about the implication of fintech for more traditional financial institutions. He reached out to Jack Ma 5.5 years ago when people were saying, we don't have to worry about level playing, the challenge of these in our lifetimes. Now many bankers like Piyush say, we're unfairly penalized. We have all these regulations, all these capital requirements, etc. From the point of view of a fintech player, how do the Korean regulators have it right? Do you have any advice for them? How do they have the best features of fintech without the worst? And one of the comments that I really liked earlier this morning was David Liao's comment about regulation needs to be a bag, not a box. It needs to be not rigidly shaped.
Sure. So it's very interesting because maybe you asked the same question 4 years ago to me. I would say there has been so many changes. There are so many things that are not working in the fintech sector in terms of regulations. But last year, July, the FSC made a new bureau within the FSC called Financial Innovation Bureau that's 100% dedicated to fintech only. Before that, any fintech player, if they wanted to talk to the regulators, they had no counterpart. So if you're a robo-advisor company, you have to go to asset management division, but then they wouldn't talk to you because you don't have the license. And then this type of issue has been, the biggest issue in the fintech sector in Korea. But starting last year, July, the government changed the direction, and the regulators started making a lot of new regulations that is pro-fintech, made some new licenses, and also the regulatory sandbox was launched within 6 months, which is really, really quick. And also we are the government is also trying to change the regulation on data, on personal data. They're benchmarking the PSD2. And also in terms of lending, they're making the new law in PDP. So these changes are just less than a year old. And we've been seeing these changes, and this type of conferences are happening a lot in Korea, in Seoul as well. And I think that's very good for fintech companies. We'll have to see how they turn out in the latter years, but right now it's very good for the fintech companies. What we're seeing in the market though is the traditional incumbents are actually complaining a lot. We've been seeing new press releases on credit card companies, and we've been seeing some news on savings companies where they lend a lot of money at a higher price. But now we are targeting the fintech companies are targeting mid-rate. So these changes are what we're seeing in Korea.
So final question for you. What did you think of Vivek's comment about vested interests, behind regulatory moves that result in protectionism?
I see right now fintech in Korea is still tiny, still very tiny. I think it's at a stage where incumbents and also the regulators have to help these companies, bring some changes and try to make this financial industry more, I would say, innovative, more fit for this digitalized economy. So I do agree when talking about the partnerships between incumbents and fintech companies. I think that's something that's very necessary. We haven't really seen a lot of fights going on between the traditional players and the fintech companies yet, but we might see that coming, and I think that'll be something that everybody has to watch out for.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn now to Rebecca. I think wealth management is one of the most interesting and important areas in fintech. I was just reading an interesting study from JP Morgan, your former firm, and it is about how what we are seeing the last few years in Asia is but we're not seeing comparable wage growth and income growth, which means being able to earn money on your savings is more and more important. And using technology to lower the costs of wealth management and make wealth management more widely available. So Rebecca, start out by talking a bit about premier partners. But before you start, I asked the panelists, I wanted to have a more, free and informal discussion. But her presentation about Fintech and evolving trends for the asset management industry is really interesting. And if you send her an email, I'm sure she'll be happy to send you a copy of it. Rebecca, thanks.
Thank you very much, Henny, and also Dr. Chua for inviting me to join this event. On Premier Partners, most of you probably have not heard about the firm. It's actually a firm that I founded 3 years ago after leaving BlackRock and also the asset management joint venture between ICBC and Credit Suisse to focus on Asia-focused ETFs. So we are actually an ETF manager based in Hong Kong. We have all of our ETFs listed in Hong Kong with the primary focus of trying to create something that would be appropriate for Asia-based investors. For example, most of my prior life, because I have always been working in international global incumbents, one of the things that I found out is usually the global firms, they look at Asian markets as where they export products rather than where investment on product development or research would be based. And the result of that is many of my clients, existing and previous clients, they are usually left with not as much choice when it comes to product selection, when it comes to achieving their investment outcome. And in fact, for example, we work with some of the financial institutions in Korea a lot. And previously, they usually only use US-based ETFs. As some of you may be aware that for most of us in Asia, that would automatically come with between 15 to 30% of withholding tax, which Asia-based or US-based ETFs would not have. So with that, we created the firm, put together the firm to focus on that. That also coincides with like what Henny mentioned about the economic development in the Asian markets. Because even though the average GDP per capita in Asia is still quite low compared to the developed market, we're still around $6,000 range. It's a lot higher in Korea, much higher in Singapore and in Hong Kong. But I think what that matters in a lot of markets, and perhaps it's also in the head of minds for most regulators, for most average households, average retail investors, like Jody mentioned, they do not have adequate access to financing. They also do not have adequate access to good investment products. And after the global financial crisis, we have come to an extended period of low yield environment, which for the time being seems to be continuing to extend. So we do need to think about investment because we now all have much longer life expectancy. Having retired without sufficient retirement income is a problem for a lot of people. The challenge though is conventional financial institutions typically, especially the global ones, they are not motivated to create low-cost products, even though because of technology advancement, because of a lot of development in the market environment, we are actually able to lower the cost. One example is, for example, the China AHS ETF that we launched in Hong Kong come with significantly lower costs, up to 50% cheaper than the incumbents have launched. There isn't too much magic other than that our custodian and fund administrator HSBC has been very helpful in helping us put together a very tight cost structure. But the reality is that the incumbents do not have any motivation to lower the cost on their own. And that creates a space for us, and also
personal role model? How did you decide to set up Premier Partners? You could have gone in many different directions. How did you make the choices that you made?
It was more because, so other than the things that I mentioned, the frustrations at the global incumbents that we see things that can be done that have not been done, the real push was actually someone that you know well as well, our common friend Lei Zhan at Hill House Capital. So it came about one afternoon. Lei was actually 2 years ahead of me at Yale, and he has
Just describe Hill House. It's a $50 billion fund now, right? The 60 now. It does both private investing and public market investing. And John Lei famously graduated from Yale, got $20 million from the endowment, put it virtually all in 10 cents and Jingdong.com. And that was 14 years ago.
Yes. So Lei is a good friend of mine, and because one of the things that he often teased me about is that I continue to choose to stay in the comfort zone of a global platform. He was like, it is the age of being entrepreneurial. Why don't you do something? And given what you have learned, why do you not do something for Asia rather than just keep doing for the US? And then we talk about the tech market in Asia and why there is no Asia-based managers that is doing all these things that to create a referendum in the developed market in Asia. So eventually I decided to do that, partly to test it out to see whether the hypothesis that we've been building before really worked, partly also because I do agree with Lei that this is the age of being entrepreneurial because a lot of the right elements are happening despite the regulatory challenges. I think the lowering computing costs, availability of data is largely changing the way we do things and allow us to really lower the cost. Like we were discussing at the dinner yesterday. If I were to do what I'm doing like 10, 15 years ago, I would need to hire much more people in the team. But right now, because of technology, a lot of the modeling, a lot of the quantitative things are already able to provide very good insights into the investment process. So instead of hiring 100 people to do fundamental analysis on each of the companies that we will be investing in, we rely a lot on technology and also the systematic modeling methods.
Final quick question for you. In his presentation, Oskar uses the word quantamental. Would that describe your approach as well, this mixture of fundamental and quantitative approaches?
Yes. We definitely focus a lot on quantamental methodology. Maybe a bit different from what Oskar is focusing on because you are in the different spectrum of investing. We are on the public security side. So in the past, most of the quantitative-driven methods, they focus a lot on use based on financial structure data. But again, because what we mentioned about availability of big data, availability of lowering cost of computing power, we are now able to combine a lot of the structured and unstructured data into the investment process. And in many ways, validate and complete the decision-making in each of the investment streams. So for example, in the past, we may only to create an ETF, which some of you the methodology that most of you will be familiar with would be the cap-weighted approach. For example, S&P 500 is basically 500 companies in the US that are largest by market cap. But there is no reason why the companies that are largest by market cap would be the best. Why we do that? Because in the past it's just the simplest form of investing. But now because of lowering computing costs, because of availability of data, there are a lot more ways to augment those metrics. So for example, in active strategies, people would go for company business, they would talk to CEOs and the management team to predict what their current year sales will be, what will be their growth plans and all that.
We're going to go 5 minutes over because we started late, so you will have your lunch soon, but I need to have a few minutes with you, Rosaline. You know, I was at the IFC Emerging Market Conference in Washington 10 days ago, and one of the points that people make is insurance tech sort of is the last frontier, and yet that's very counterintuitive to me because big data lends itself to insurance. It is all about probabilities. So why are there not more insurance tech companies like yours? Tell us how you came to start your insurance tech firm and what you're doing in Singapore.
The reason why there aren't as many insurtech is because you have to come from the industry to understand it, and the whole industry never used tech. Claims, if you have a medical claim, is processed by humans looking at the receipt to decide what to do about it, right? And no one can ever find that receipt when you want to be reimbursed, right? So that's why it's not data, it's paper. So the reason I got into this is because I was running Mercer Marsh benefits in the 14 countries. And we grew 800% into the biggest broker here. But despite that, every single one of our clients complained. What did they complain about? They said, look, healthcare costs are rising out of control, double digit. Every year, you do not help me, you just take a cut. But despite spending all this money, our talent don't understand insurance, and no one can ever get reimbursed from their medical claims. So no one likes it. Last thing, I had a really large Chinese client. So they said, look, we bought cancer insurance for all of our employees, but you know what happened? Too many late-stage cancers. It was too late. Why does this only work when something bad happens? So I asked my company for $10 million to build a tech. You know what? They said no. It's
in 2013?
It was. So I quit. And I said, I'm going to build my own company. But little did I realize the $10 million would come from me, my husband, and my children. So my husband was retired, but no longer. My children work for their college tuition, but that means they have character. They're probably thanking much later. So I actually built a pre-funded wallet for employees. You know, it's actually funded by the insurance and the healthcare study. And employees decide how they want to spend this money. If their spouse is already covering them for hospitalization, they can move the money to wellness and prevention. But what's happened is all the banks are white labeling us. Why? Because they have lots of corporate clients and SMEs. So the reason they're using us is because we're getting rid of all the middlemen. These are the agents, the brokers, the third-party administrators, so that doctors' visits are at least 25% off. E-pharmacy means that drugs are much cheaper. But not only that.
Good deflation.
Yes, it's
not
good
bad
for the company, but also because we get the lab tests, we can do early detection of disease, what the Chinese company wanted. So the banks also want to grow the consumer bank. Since we know when employees get married, you know what? No one will marry you in Asia if you can't buy a house or a car. But you know what? No one has the money. So the banks are going to offer mortgages and auto loans, auto insurance, mortgage protection, also life insurance for the wife, and education endowment for the child. So it helps the bank to go beyond banking into this other ecosystems. When people leave the company, they're going to offer affordable insurance, because what if you're between jobs? But also the banks are using us because they want to get in the middle of the healthcare spend. They want to move the money from the companies to the doctors. So we're helping banks go beyond banking and embedding banking loans and payments into other ecosystems. So this is what we're doing because we think insurance is not just insurance. It's about your health, right? And how do you get access to cheaper doctors, cheaper insurance by getting rid of middlemen?
So you also have chosen to have partners and alliances.
Yes. Banks, telcos, doctor networks, disease management, insurance companies, TPAs, so everyone's part of the whole network.
So describe your relationship with HSBC as an example.
So HSBC invested in us. I feel like I work for HSBC actually. So other banks have invested in us too, and telcos, because they want to change their ecosystem. And you're right, telcos are just an ecosystem, but they want to be able to remit money. But I link to the clinics and the hospitals and the pharmacies on the ground so that when domestic workers remit money, their spouse doesn't use it on other mistresses, but on actual medical care or education or the home. So I link it and they control the bill.
I'm being told our time is up, but I'm going to ask you one final question because we did start very late. And that is, being in Singapore, there seems to be a very well-developed ecosystem in Singapore, whether it's financing, support, government help. Can you talk a bit about why Singapore is a good place to start a company and whether there are lessons for the people from Busan here who would like to learn? Because to me, Singapore is the role model in the region. Regrettably, Hong Kong, where I'm from, is not. And so lessons that Busan can learn from the ecosystem in Singapore. Thank you.
So we are government funded by the Education Development Board. They funded us because they wanted to fix healthcare and insurance, but also to make sure that we don't die. Because there have been so many moments, many long moments when we ran out of money, and the government, needs a female post-menopausal tech startup to make it. So I think that's why we're funded. We're really uniquely in that one niche.
Lessons for Busan?
Yes, so startups need help. Not just regulation, but funding and grants and support and introduction. So the Singapore government is always introducing us to people to make sure that we do not fail, right? So, because startups, we need all the help we can get. There are 1,000 ways to fail and one way to succeed. So help your startups. Otherwise, they don't make it.
Thank you all so much, and thank you all for your patience and your forbearance.